Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling and flare. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's Ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Burnaby. I'm here with my co-host Stevie Schwartz. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just like reading some of this mind-boggling stuff going on surrounding the State of the Union address, and then also starting to correlate it by reading a bunch of articles with this insane polar vortex situation going on. And the dots are coming together with his really thinly veiled attempt at saying that he's going to use executive orders to circumvent Congress in event of a national security or some kind of disaster. And what has this polar vortex done? It's put this decrepit 100-year-old plus system of supplying us with power and heat and expose all the weaknesses, and now it's on the brink of collapse. They were saying if there's one more solar vortex, well, guess what? Trucks won't arrive with food, and you know what happens when that happens.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just another failure of government. You know, we're seeing all this stuff just go to, you know, all of our infrastructure, the way that we receive our power. I mean, it's all above ground. It should, at minimum, it should be below ground. I mean, we're talking about stuff that should have been, you know, we're talking about forms of power that should have been obsolete by now, and we're still using these things. So, I mean, we pay all this money and we expect all this infrastructure to be done. You know, they say the government builds the roads, the government builds the bridges, and all this stuff. Why is our infrastructure so terrible then?
Why is it crumbling? Because there's no investment in it anymore.
There's like this international grading system, and U.S. infrastructure receives like a D+ on the scale, and obviously an A is the best. And in the modern world, in the first world, we're like pretty close to the bottom of the list. And we spend how much money on these infrastructure projects, and it seems like it's all squandered away to bureaucratic nonsense and like they build stuff that they don't need. Like this bridge to nowhere is, I mean, that's a prime example. But I all the time I see this stuff that we just don't even need, that's being done, that they build, and at the same time we still have shitty infrastructure.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember, like maybe 3 years ago or so, there was a neighborhood in the Bay where a gas main exploded, and it took out some houses and some people lost their lives. I don't know if you remember that, but what they found out when they did their audit was San Francisco, even despite the fact that they've had massive earthquakes and a fire that knocked out the whole city in 1906, there were parts of the city that were still using the original wooden piping for water. And I'm talking about 100-year-old plus wood, which, you know, it's probably a little moldy in there. It could be probably not the best thing you could drink. I mean, so yeah, our infrastructure, even in a city that is as rich as San Francisco is, there's nothing being done to address our critical services. And maybe, honestly, there's nothing to be done because they're built on top, underneath things, and there's different layers of things, and we can only do what we can do. And again, this is where government fails, and us as citizens of our communities are going to have to undertake these projects. I mean, they just don't even care enough to get them going at a rate we need them done.
Yeah, and let me just give you a quick example of what I've dealt with personally. At my old warehouse, we had this parking on the street, and then one day we come in. Oh, sorry, we had a little feedback there. So, we come into work. They were doing construction on this road, and they were building a bike lane on one side. And we come in, and then we realize they took all of our parking off of the street. You know, and basically they put in 4 bike lanes on one street, and they took our parking off the one side, but they didn't bother telling any of the businesses that were there. You know, and this is a bunch of small, small businesses in this warehouse complex where there's a bunch of little warehouses, and next thing you know, our parking's gone. And then, like, literally, it got to the point where customers were leaving because they couldn't find parking.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother telling us. I went and tried to talk to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you should have known because we posted on our board right here at the city hall." It's like, dude, you think anyone actually has time to come down to the city hall and look at this board like every week or every day to see what you guys are up to if you're going to do anything stupid? And then they go right here in the downtown area of Chula Vista. They go and they make this whole they redo this whole like boardwalk area that we have. And they widen out like all the sidewalks, and they make the whole street out of brick, and they make it all this expensive.
It's pedestrian friendly, walking friendly now, right?
And the thing is that we already don't even have people walking on those streets anyway, because it's like a ghost town down there because the economy is so bad, and all the places are either out of business, on the verge of out of business, or are like catering to old people. I mean,
yeah, and these
it's like they did the exact opposite of what they should have done. You know, and the thing is that they're taking our money in taxes to do this crap that we don't even want them doing.
Right.
You know, and it's just so it's such a slap in the face. You know, it's unjust. It's immoral.
And it's conceived because it's under, you know, the UN's Agenda 21, which is going to be funneling as many people into tightly packed urban centers as possible and getting rid of road waste, because in the new economy, which they're inventing out of thin air and they're going to come up with here pretty soon after the collapse, a car will be out of reach for 85% of citizenry. They're going to have to go back to a bike/public transportation system because we will be in the third world once this collapse hits. And that's what they're doing, man. They don't care about car spaces. There will be no cars soon. There will be no cars because no one's going to have money to have a car. You know, so they don't care about that. What they're looking forward to is the collapse and then funneling everyone in.
We all that have cars now, we rely on gas. Not all, but most. So 95%, maybe more, rely on gas, and that's a big issue. You know, and that's where they can really grab you by the you-know-whats and say, okay, you want gas? Okay, well, just, make sure you do this and make sure you don't do that. It's just another factor when it comes down. Fuel is just another part of the whole grid, the control grid.
Right.
Where you see like what happened in West Virginia, where the whole water supply got polluted. Guess what? No one drinks. No one. If they're drinking, they're gonna have to be getting it from somewhere else.
Right.
That's the hazard of being on a grid. And the worst part is that this grid, the water grid that got polluted up there, is a government-owned grid. Now, is the government going to be sued for this? No. they're going to go after that company, and guess what? That company already declared bankruptcy, and they're already washing their hands of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So guess what's going to happen? Nothing. There's probably going to be no justice in this whole thing.
And you know what's the worst thing about this is because of a spill of this sort, and because of the peace bill, that this TPP rider they're going to have is going to try to bring about an environmental accident Monsanto type protection act too. That's part of the TPP as well, so that when Exxon has an oil spill, you can't sue them because it's an accident. It's a part of doing business. And this is what they're setting up. It's not just a control grid. It's far more than that. I mean, if you can never sue for things that injure the public at large, there's just nothing anymore. I mean, it's just fully controlled, fully vested. I mean, that's all you can really say about it. I mean, the thing is, it's Obama's all about this fast-tracking it, and he tried to sell it to the American people last night. And I found it to be hilarious that he had the audacity, speaking of his favorite word, to pretty much say it's going to raise the living standards of everyone on the Pacific Rim to an American style of living. And that is just hypocrisy at its absolute most convoluted. I've never even heard of that before.
I mean, it's kind of funny considering our standard of living right now is like on the downspin. And then, you know, if you talk about raising somebody's standard of living to the American standard, that means that you're raising it down a level. Like you're lowering them down.
So what they're saying is you're free to eat cheap GMO foods, be chemtrailed out of your mind, have your water fluoridated, and have your universal single-payer healthcare system destroyed in favor of this corporatocracy, Obamacare, forced insurance scheme at the point of a gun. You're free to all of those luxuries. You're going to love them, Peru, and you're going to love them, South Korea, and all these other countries that are so quick to sign on to this because of their bootlicking political body.
And it's what he was saying. I mean, I didn't actually watch it, but I'm just reading some clips of what he said. He basically made the claim that fast tracking the TPP. The words were kind of. I think he used something like, "We need to get this trade authority something or other going." Those that know, that is basically what they're talking about with the TPP. And he's claiming that it's going to create jobs. It's going to create economic opportunity for America. But that's simply not the case. And if we look at NAFTA as an example, these things have negative consequences on the U.S. economy because we have the highest labor standards, we have the highest safety standards and things like that, that it makes our labor not as competitive when it comes to a place that's second or third world that's just coming up, like obviously China. But if we're talking about the TPP, I mean, some of these South American countries are going to be. We're basically what they're trying to do with the TPP is start to replace some of China's stuff with with countries in South America.
Yeah,
they're basically saying, look, China's getting too powerful. Let's start building these cheap factories and use slave labor somewhere down in South America instead. Right. So no matter which way you look at it, I mean, whether you're looking at the labor that's going to be exploited in the third world, whether you look at the American jobs that are going to be lost, or if you look at the internet side of it, where they're going to have all these superseding copyright overreaches that are going to possibly tear down a lot of websites that you guys follow, just because they have one image that is copyrighted that they didn't have permission to use, or something of that nature. Well, that's all built into the TPP. So I mean, it's whatever side of the equation, whatever spectrum of your politics, all that good stuff. The TPP is bad news for basically everything.
It takes it to a level of lunacy too, because I was reading up on some of the things, and if they're going to be enforcing copyright infringement, look back at your Facebook posts and make sure that you've never posted the likeness of anything, because each of those things is a federal felony, because you used someone's likeness and didn't pay them for it, and you will be billed. I mean, these are the stupid kind of things they're doing. This is why they're curtailing all this personal data about everybody, because these things are all going to be used against all of us and to enslave us. They're not for anybody's safety. Don't ever think that they are, because there's still going to be mass casualties.
Just think about it this way. The way I look at it is like this. Whenever, when was the last time the government worked in our favor? The federal government actually worked in our favor. It's kind of hard to remember a time, right? So, what makes you think that they're going to push forward a bill that's going to say the Privacy Protection Act or whatever, something that sounds so great and so so comforting to the average citizen? You don't have to worry about your identity being stolen anymore. We're just going to put this thing through because we're looking out for you guys, and that's how it's being sold.
Right.
But if you look at on the backside of any major legislation that comes through, is it people putting these legislation? Is it us? Is it the public saying, hey, we want this legislation? Most of the time, like the Monsanto Protection Act and all this stuff, it's all corporate stuff. It's all corporate lobbied. It's all about these advisors that these guys have that are basically working for these insider firms, and it comes with the territory of becoming that rich. When you're a company like Goldman Sachs or like Monsanto, and you have that much money, it's only natural that the money starts combining with the power. That's just how it is, because the money gets created at the Federal Reserve, and the closer you get to the Fed, the more you're going to make off like a bandit.
It is.
If you can be the guy that's like right one hand next to the Fed, like all the big banks, Bank of America, Citibank, Chase, and all that stuff. They're all members of the Fed. They're the ones make out like bandits.
Yep. There's 4 primary banks. Wells, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and what was the other one? Citi.
And then they get the money, loan it back to the government at interest.
Yeah.
You remember that scam, right?
Yeah. So it's really, I always like to blow people's minds when I tell them the Federal Reserve is private, the IRS is private. They're both corporations. They are founded and reside in Delaware, so they don't have to pay any tax. And all they do is a simple function. The Federal Reserve is made up of a bunch of douchebags that decide what a barrel of oil is worth in gold, and then they print that amount as much as they need to run all their stupid little games. And then they use our military to enforce it through our government, and then everyone buys into it. And it's really that simple. And if you don't buy into it, you die.
You got to buy into it, or you end up like Gaddafi.
Right.
You say, I don't want to buy into your dollar. Okay, Gaddafi. All right, brother. Even though John Kerry was meeting up with you, 6 months before we it was like just months before he was taken out. And John Kerry met up with him, and we all know John Kerry is one of these, skull and bonesmen. He's a George Bush relative. He's a total insider. He's total. He's a total 1%er too. He's worth probably like half 40
million or 50. I think. I know his wife is insanely rich too. Yeah, besides him, so
no, I heard he was worth more than 200-300 million. Between him and his wife.
He may be.
So, he's a total, 1%er type of guy.
Right.
And he was a presidential candidate. And when he ran, obviously, there was some kind of... why did he get taken out of the race?
Well, he looked like he was on death's door, and then his running mate looked like she couldn't tie her own shoes. So... It's just like the last presidential election. Were you really gonna vote for either of these guys?
Didn't he say something about the military guys? He was basically saying military guys are just people that don't get good grades in school. And
McCain?
Then Kerry, when he was running against Bush, his own cousin.
Yeah, I could see how he'd say something stupid.
And so the media flipped it on him, but it was just like it was one of these total fabricated distraction type things. He was a total fall guy, and it was just one of those times when they were like, okay, well, guess what? George Bush is being elected here. And you're his cousin anyway, so come on, bro. You're going to take the fall this time, but you'll be back, and look at him now.
Yep.
Now he's Secretary
of State.
Secretary of State?
Yeah, he's being groomed for, Brzezinski's type job where he's going to be the chess master soon, behind the scenes guy, a handler, so to speak. He's got the trust of the people at the top because he he's a top level Skull and Bones guy. Obviously, you can't even ask him if he's in it without getting tased, bro.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
when you're
that's
that kind of,
whole-
when
that-
you got that kind of juice, you're up there, man. You're what they say is he's more than a 1%er. He's connected. So yeah, he's at that level, man.
That's where
One thing I wanted to get back to just before I forget is this amazing program that, because Social Security is completely fucking broke, that now we have MyRA. You're Myra. So they're basically, Obama last night admitted that Obamacare was to replenish defaulted Social Security so that the old folks now can still receive benefits, and that now, because they're completely broke in that aspect, our new generation, starting pretty much from this year, is going to have MyRA. So the government's going to force you to trust your retirement to Wall Street.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Hey guys, instead of us being the middleman, I mean, it's kind of this whole TPP mentality, really.
Right.
It's like, let's cut out the middleman and let's just throw your money straight into. I mean, that's almost as bad as a 401k.
Because then you can't get mad at them because they had your money on the free market, even though they forced you by putting it as a tax.
Yeah,
your
you can
MyRA tax.
Then the government can sidestep and just blame Wall Street.
Well, Wall Street had a horrible decade right before you retired, sir. That's your shit. Your shit luck.
Unfortunately, that happens for every generation.
It goes in waves. Every time we see a new generation about to retire, we crash
Sorry,
your
guys.
savings.
Yeah, every time there's a big population boom, we crash the Wall Street. banks.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And now that you're locked in for life, one thing he did say I found hilarious was that fossil fuel industry makes $4 billion a year in subsidies, and they wanted to cut that out. Guess what's coming to the gas pumps near you? I mean, they'll just throw the misery onto all of us. I could see gas going up 20 cents tomorrow, maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, man, because while they're gonna see, they've done that, and then they're and like we were talking about earlier, everybody 95 or I would honestly 98%. Well, there's a lot of Priuses out there, but Priuses rely on gas. You can't plug a Prius in.
Yeah.
You got to have gas to run a Prius. So considering that, 99% of people are on either regular gas or diesel.
Yeah.
So we're all relying on this gas. So, I mean, it's kind of a catch-22 because they're going to raise the prices on the gas, but at the same time, all the other industries are so overly regulated, and there's such a high barrier of entry to get into the alternative energy field. Commercially, if you wanted to actually set up like a power plant to run off of solar paneling or something, there's so many legal hoops that you got to jump through, and believe me, they do it on purpose in order to create these monopolistic type of atmospheres. Because God forbid there'd be a free market and people would be having everyone on every block would have their own power stations with solar paneling and stuff like that.
I mean,
we don't want. Of course, we don't want that. We want to keep everyone on a control grid. We don't want decentralized energy. We don't want decentralized anything.
A community co-op power grid. I mean, with
that's
solar and wind.
That is what we need.
Just wherever you can get the most out of the square footage, pull it together, buy the lot, throw the towers up, or whatever you need to do, and run the lines back to your home. And just pay for maintenance under some kind of plan for, a contractor.
The most efficient thing is those little solar thermal plants where you have the reflecting, like the mirrors that reflect, they all reflect back to this boiling broiler type of thing.
Right.
And it's hooked up to like a turbine. And that's like the most efficient thing. And if you get the whole community to do it, I mean, you could even do it where you stick one mirror. If you could engineer this thing right, you have to do it with like some kind of 3D printer type of technology, right? Where you engineer this thing so legit that you can just have like a bunch of mirrors on everybody's house on the roof, and then they all just focus at like one spot where you guys build a tower and you build a boiling pot.
And they can follow the sun. It's really simple for them to do that too and bounce it right back to a specific point, although that would be kind of funny if one of the calibrations went off and some laser beam shot out somewhere.
Took down a drone?
Took out a drone by accident. Speaking of drones, we had a drone crash off our own coast, dude.
Yeah, man.
$18 million drone went up in smoke doing what the hell, who knows
And
what.
this is the thing, we didn't know about it.
No, it was just, it's a stealth drone, right?
I mean, if it's an $18 million drone, it's got to be something. I mean, those Predator drones aren't that expensive. The Predator drones are probably like $3 million, $5 million each.
Right.
They're not 18, dude. That's something. You know.
Well, it's the DEA doesn't like competition, dude, so they have that spy drone out there.
Then again, this thing could maybe not even just be a drone. Maybe it's something else that went down, and they're just saying, "Oh, maybe it's not a weather balloon this time, but it's a drone." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because now they have that excuse. You know, so I mean, who knows? Who knows what it is? But what I know is that I've been looking in the sky to see if there are drones because I've been suspecting that there have been, but I haven't been able to spot one.
No, I can hear something sometimes
Yeah,
at night.
sometimes I hear something, and it's like I know what a helicopter sounds like.
No, they're props.
I know
They're
what
prop
a plane
plane,
sounds like, but there's something else that I'm hearing it. But every time I go out there, I can't see it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of it's kind of scary because where this drone was flying, they say it was a border drone, so it was going up and down the border
Right.
line. The chances are my house is within their cameras. You know.
My question is, does it have a Hellfire? So if it detects an underground drug tunnel, it can just bomb the house on top of it. Are they armed?
I mean, that's we don't know that because when the plane went down, they didn't release any details.
Wow. I mean, it's if you can barely hear it and you can't see it, and eventually they throw in, like we always say, those logarithmic patterns where you're just kind of acting sketchy and doing something they don't like. Like maybe you're in a large group and they just throw a Hellfire in there to disperse you. I mean, that kind of stuff seems like it may be on the doorstep here pretty soon.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if you look at what, and that kind of brings us to what we were talking about today. Today, we had a rally with Cindy Sheehan, which is the Peace and Freedom Party candidate for California mayor, and my buddy Alex Fiddle had brought her into town, and she was doing a few stops, and we did a press conference over at the City Hall in Encinitas, and we kind of brought this up because what's happening is that all these little police departments, including the San Diego Sheriff, and now we know that they're flying over the border here, and it's probably going on in a little town near you. They're all getting drones, and they're all getting these military vehicles, and they're all getting this military training, military equipment, and these guys like using it. And when they finally get to use it, just like they did in Boston, look at what they did. That was a full-on Nazi-style police force there.
Yes.
And once they get this stuff, they want to flex it. So, I think first thing we need to do is halt this whole process. Because what did they buy? Just 1,600 of these vehicles? Didn't the DHS just buy 1,600?
I don't want to halt this process. Do you know what I want to do? I want the police to be disarmed, and I want the militia to be armed. Because we cannot trust any agent of the state any longer. And a police officer is an agent of the state. Now, perhaps sheriffs can be trusted enough to lead the training of the new militias, and they can be able to hand out this military surplus equipment, and we'll make sure we're never invaded by somebody like China because we'll make it way too painful for them. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, there's definitely a way to provide for a civil defense and a police force like we were talking about on our last show on Monday. We can provide for this stuff at the local level, and it's just like anything else. It needs decentralizing.
Yeah.
Because then you get, you have a huge military that's completely centralized. You're going to run into the same problem that any bureaucracy runs into.
And listen, we have all these guys coming back with God knows what kind of job market to come back to who are really good at really doing one thing, which is, taking the enemy out. So let's use some of these vets that are coming home from these wars, and let's put them in militias, and we can pay for them on a community level. And then what we can say is, hey, we know you're scaling the military down. We want our federal taxes lowered drastically because we're going to have our community taxes increased to pay for our own militias. They're going to be dudes loyal to their own communities with all the latest hardware and techware. Shoot, we can have our own drones, but the thing is, I just don't want them centrally controlled anymore by people who have no loyalty to our country, let alone our individual communities, and would just as soon nuke a city here to start something than they would to you know. Listen, man, if they're going to cut unemployment, cut food stamps, try to make social chaos and destroy the fabric of our society, they're not part of it, man. They're all dual citizens. They'll go wherever they want in the world once they get what they want out of this country.
And all their wealth is offshore.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there was I mean, you name it, dude. Like, they don't take those risks. You think these guys have their money tied up in the U.S. stock market?
No.
They're way smarter than that.
No.
They may have a little auxiliary fund that goes in and just makes bank when they manipulate the market. But no, they have their assets most likely in hard assets, which is bars and bars and bars of gold, hidden in these islands out in the who knows where. You know, they could find an abandoned island and make a huge depository there if they wanted to.
Right.
Who knows?
I mean,
but they're sticking us with all this fiat and all this digital debt and all this massive amounts of debt, and then they're raising our cost of living while at the same time lowering our standard of living. I mean, it's a recipe for failure.
I mean, think about this. You can use Bitcoin at 3 casinos in Vegas as of today. All right? The currency revolution will be the full-scale enslavement of an entire nation. Bitcoin, while it was a great novel idea and it tricked people into thinking that they were away from government manipulation, in all honesty, it's electronic currency that depends on an intranet that is completely controlled by the NSA.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
So your money is now even worse than having the paper fiat money, in my opinion. I mean, it's very volatile, and I'm sure there are some self-made millionaires who got into Bitcoin early and maybe they just sold off.
There's ways of the thing is that the mainstream Bitcoin user is relying solely on the internet, right? Now, these dudes that actually know what's up, you know, which are these internet developers, you know, cryptologists type of, you know, hackers and stuff, these guys know how to handle their shit where they're not going to lose it. But the average Joe is going to have a tough time because, like you were saying, it's all on a grid. I mean, that one guy just got indicted, the CEO of that one Bitcoin exchange.
Right.
He got indicted. They charged him with money laundering.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, is total BS.
Well, the state didn't get their cut, so it is laundering.
Well, yeah. I
mean,
technically, according to corporate U.S. law, it is, but you know,
as long as they have,
essentially, it's not.
As long as they have these guys that work at Interpol who are so blinded by duty that they continue to bust financial criminals and pot smokers and make national issues out of things that don't even hurt other people, yeah, you're going to continually see this kind of idiocy happen with currency. It's crazy to think it, but silver and gold to me still got that feel where you can go to a, you know, whatever crazy open air market like they had in Argentina after their currency collapsed about a decade ago. You could show up with silver and buy stuff and gold. Shoot, people knew what they were worth outside of the country. They knew that if they got enough gold, they could get out of the country.
Yeah, man. I mean, when it comes down to it, it'll be barter.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. If you know what you're doing with Bitcoin, you can store it offline in USB drives and things like that. And then, so anytime you're trying to make a transaction, all you need to have is a little bit of power, and you can make an exchange. You know, and that's the people that know what they're doing with Bitcoin use it that way. Now, to have like all your money in a Bitcoin wallet online, bad idea.
Yeah.
Because
Google Wallet.
Because then, guess what? Anytime the government wants,
right,
that's theirs, and you got to keep it. You got to have it on, disconnected from the internet. Wherever you're storing your big stuff, you got to keep it off because they can just go in and get you. Because believe me, all these apps and stuff, they just like we saw today, they're going in through Angry Birds, they're going in through Facebook. Obviously, they're probably going in through these Bitcoin apps.
And the new Facebook app actually has in its permission list to analyze your text messages, to save and store text messages. I mean, why would you ever allow that?
That's why I never got the Facebook app. Even though I'm like a Facebook entrepreneur.
I mean,
I've never used the Facebook app.
What do you think they're going to do with those?
When I first was about to sign up for it, I actually looked at the user agreement, and I was just like, even back then, this was like 2.5 years ago. I was like, wait, they're going to get access to all my my contacts. So even though my friends that may not be on Facebook, they're going to have access to their phone numbers. They're going to have access to their email. I'm like, oh, maybe that's not such a good idea.
They're going to attach all of your pictures you're tagged in to facial recognition with your real name. Because remember when Facebook came out, they said, we encourage you to use your real name so there's no whatever going on on the internet, and there's no identity theft and everything. So, yeah, did I buy into it? Yeah, because I was naive like 4 or 5 years ago. I still hadn't woke up. And so, yeah, I used my real name. So they had my real name, and I was stupid enough to put my own face picture on there. So they had my face, and then all my friends. And then, and then the app gives them all your friends' phone numbers and your geolocation, and now you have your whole file. Your whole file is built by you. Your own actions are building your own file now. And the thing is, you can use the Freedom of Information Act to request if you have a file for the NSA or the FBI, and then by their sheer denial of it means, yeah, you do. So you can definitely find out if you're on a watch list.
Well,
I think they said today that there's 8 million people on some kind of watch list they're going to try to grab.
Anyone that's ever talked about anything questionable has probably been, all of your content was aggregated and searched through by their algorithms and stuff. So, you just have to stay vigilant, man. You got to just understand, like, look, yeah, they know what you're saying. They know what you're doing. Good.
Half of them agree with you. The other half don't.
Good.
It's like cops. There's half good, half bad, right?
Yeah, it's going to come down to it. And that's what I talked about today in my speech. It's going to come down to this point. Are you with us or against us? Are you with the people or are you with the corporate interests? Are you with the fascist corporate industrial complex? Whatever you want to call it. Whatever, you want to call it the Illuminati? Whatever it is. It's this structure where everybody at the top controls the majority of almost all the wealth and resources for the bottom 99% of everybody else. And it's not, it's not even questionable that that's going on. I mean, all these recent reports coming out, all this recent research, 85 people own the same as 40% of the bottom poorest. I mean, it's there. There's a pyramid scheme in place.
And the wealth it's unfathomable that 85 people can own as much as, let's do the math. If it's 40%, that means it's 2.8 billion people.
And I mean, I'm trying to get it through my head, because I don't hate rich people, I mean, I've met a lot of people that are rich, that are legitimate, that are nice people, but I'm just trying to understand that how one of these 85 people would want to own that much stuff.
And it's trusts.
And why they would be able to walk down the street and see people homeless, because let's face it, you go to downtown San Diego, which is a rich area, you go to downtown Los Angeles, you go to New York City, you go to any of these big cities where there's plenty of millionaires living in, billionaires even, especially in New York. And there's homeless people living in the street right in front of these people, maybe even in front of their building where they live, where they have their penthouse at. And they can literally walk by these people, by the tens and hundreds and maybe even thousands, and just keep walking and not want to do nothing about it. And yet they just sit there and stack up hundreds of millions of dollars weekly, and it's they just want to hoard. I don't understand it. Why are they trying to hoard all this money? I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I just, I guess maybe just because of the person that I am, I would never want to do anything like that. That just seems idiotic to me.
But it's
like hoarding. It's like a disease almost.
It's like, where do you derive your pleasure from is basically what drives your actions in life. And like the Gordon Gekko said in Wall Street, greed is good. These fools have superiority complexes. It gets them off to smash the people that they consider intellectually inferior. Like, that drives them with life. And I'm not talking about every guy on Wall Street, but the cream of the crop guys, the Gordon Gekkos, the corporate raider types, the guys that destroy the economy, the guys like the freaking loser that didn't win the presidency last time for the Republican Party. Those dudes, they don't provide, they only destroy for their own benefit. They're billionaires. The same guys that are hedge fund guys that do derivative market bets on things like food, where they'll actually pay farmers not to release their crop to market so that they can drive their own stocks up and people starve because there's crops not making it to other parts of the world where things aren't grown.
Oh, and one of the biggest trends right now in these hedge fund type of schemes is water.
Yes.
And they're scooping up all the water.
Oh, yeah.
They're scooping up all the aquifers down over here over the Southwest.
Yep.
They're scooping them up in South America.
And where are they dumping
them?
them?
In Middle America.
Well, they're all going to China because China's water is absolutely putrid, and they have trillions and trillions of dollars to buy the water rights. In fact, the Great Lakes are drained and shipped through a special pipeline right to China. And you know what's the funniest part about it? It's getting so much damn Fukushima fallout that we're just shipping over massive quantities of radiated fresh water. And so we could care less, take it all, please, drink it. It's just this crazy, crazy game the elites keep playing with all of our lives because we're cattle, we're chattel, and that's all they see it. It's the superiority complex that gets in there.
Literally, we're just numbers. We're just Social Security numbers. That's all we are.
Yeah.
That's what we got. That's what we were given at birth, and that's our number, and that's our debt. If you have that number, guess what? That debt that the country has, that's your
debt.
That's your responsibility.
It's your debt.
And unfortunately, it's being ran up by all these bureaucrats in D.C. that are disconnected from reality. They're spending trillions of dollars on foreign policy. Meanwhile, our own people are starving out in the streets. We have a record number of people under the poverty line. We've got a record number of people out of the workforce. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, they're playing these games with the TPP where instead of really addressing what's going on in this country, they're like, oh, it's China's fault, so let's cut China out of the equation. Blame it on them. No, it's not China's fault. It's coming from internal. We've got enemies domestic in this country, and they're ruining it for the rest of us. And I mean, it's getting to the point now where countries are starting to hate our guts because we're you go to Europe and they're like, oh, you know what your government's doing over there, right? Because they get a lot better news reports than we do. Because their establishment media is trying to protect their local government,
right.
not the U.S. They can talk shit about the U.S. all they want.
Until the 60s and the 70s, many European countries taught in history books that the United States was a corporation owned wholly by the Rothschild and Rockefeller families. It is a company. And I can just keep singing it to the rafters, and everybody that listens basically knows that. We don't live in a country. We live in a company, and we're an employee. Whether or not you want to be an employee of that company, well, you know what? That's up to you. If you can get out and you want to get out, then get out.
And you're born into it. But
you are.
And it's slavery.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's economic serfdom.
That Social Security number is basically the number of your... It's basically your number of your slave number. That's basically what it is. And born into this country, you must, what is the average child right now being born right now is born with what, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in debt.
Yeah, I think it's 70.
These kids are born with this a huge workload of debt already incurred just by being born in this country. Okay, and then they go through life, and then they get. Immediately, they get tricked into these credit card schemes. They get tricked into this student loan debt, and then all this debt-based ideas. Every idea in this country is based on debt.
And
it's like oh, you want to go to school? Okay, that's going to cost you. It's like the first thing you think about when you do anything in this country is how much is it going to cost. It's not about I really like doing certain things. It's like oh, that school.
Right.
How much? Damn, that place is expensive. You know what I mean? That'd be cool, but no, I don't think But that's just where we've come to, and it's sad to say it, dude, but I mean, the people of this country have been tricked into this whole materialistic, just egotistical. I mean, America is like the ego capital of the world, It's like, yeah, we're American, and freedom and all this stuff. But unfortunately, that stuff is just talking points that come out of the mainstream media, because when it comes down to it, if you look at our freedom, we've got the largest prison population in the history of mankind. How are you going to call that freedom? And that's even including per capita. So I mean, even as a percentage-wise, we've got more people in prison than even Hitler had in Germany, and even more than Stalin had in the gulags.
And there was,
I mean, it's insane.
And there was a funny quote. I can't remember what political theorist it was, but he said, of all the major ideologies that have been used within the last 100 years, there was obviously autocracy, which is what the Nazis tried, which was, martial law permanently, where the military controls everything. And then there was just like an order type of philosophy. And then there was this one called freedom, which he said is the funniest one ever, because freedom is just where the dumb do everything free. And it's true. You have this massive slave type class of people that don't know any better, man. They don't know the law. They're uneducated. They go to college and think they're smart, but they actually just got specialized into one certain particular skill to keep a cog in the system going smoothly. And they are not well-read, well-versed. They're not Renaissance men and women anymore. Nobody knows a wide variety of things. It's too hard to do it now with all the technical, basically, advancements and the expertise you need. So what happens? This technocracy evolved out of it, out of the old aristocracy, where they have so much money they can hire the best of the best for everything. And now they control everything. And who could stop them? Because the population's worldwide. Doesn't matter if you're in Europe or Asia. It's dumbed down. It's dumbed down. It's a peon mentality. People now are happy to go to college to get what they think is a good job. The average person works 3 out of 5 years.
They've found a way to really dampen our ambition and to lower our standards and to make everyone think that maybe this crummy job where I barely even get by is basically it. That's it for me. And I know a lot of people that are like that, that have gotten to that point, and it's sad because each person is capable of doing so much. It's just that the whole system, and then the politics add into it, because I mean, how frustrated do you get with this politics and seeing the State of the Union speech that was completely Orwellian? I mean, how frustrating is it to see it go on and then to sit there and watch a good amount of people actually buy into that? I mean, the polling showed that most people didn't buy into it, but there's still a good 30% of people that are that dumb that are like, oh my gosh, the country really is turning around, And it's like, really, you bought that? Yeah, there's still 30% of the people that buy that crap, and
I have an off the wall theory about those people, or the sheeple as we call them. And I started to discuss this with one of my friends who's really into the metaphysical side of things, which is the unseen forces that really control things. And he said, hey, if we're living in the Matrix and me and you are players in a game, wouldn't it make sense that at least a percentage of the players would be NPCs? Wouldn't it make sense at least a percentage of them would be computer controlled, just for variety? And maybe these idiot sheeples, and I'm talking about people you can't sway, period, no matter what, they're indoctrinated. Maybe they're not even playing. Do you know what I mean by that? Maybe they're NPCs in this matrix we're in. It just makes a whole lot more sense to me, because I can't understand how is a guy that, I think I'm smart, but I don't think I'm a genius. Why do I see this stuff, and other people that have college degrees and so-called good jobs and are tapped in can't understand this thing? They're just not smart enough to do it, or what?
No, it's just that the Matrix has them in such a way, such a fashion that they think everything's fine and dandy.
Yeah, they'll fight to protect it.
No, but there's there's still this population of people that I mean, personally, I know a few that were kind of during this last thing that went down during, 2005, between 2005 and 2008, riding high, a couple houses under their belts, thinking they're doing all legit. And
balancing a couple mortgages.
And then next thing you know, it's gone.
Yeah.
And then they realize, being the younger self that I was, I realized too that these people, it's not the money that brings you the good, the happiness in life, because in the end, that all that stuff can get ripped away.
Easy.
Especially if you're buying into the whole fiat, just like these people were that I'm talking about, buying into the whole fiat, housing bubble, and thought that was like something legit to buy into. I mean, that's, you're gonna get screwed over either way. But it just goes to show, man. I mean, when it comes down to it, all the money in the world can just disappear on you. It's a matter of, finding a way of living your life legitly without having to rely on it, and live a good life, a life where you're happy without having to rely on having a bunch of money and a bunch of stuff that could just disappear on you any day.
And a perfect example is this polar vortex that went through the South. I mean, it hit Georgia so hard that people couldn't get out of their homes. They were snowed in. And the idiot senator or whatever, governor, didn't call a national emergency. So guess what? Nobody was told not to drive to work. 7 people died on their way to work in accidents. And it shows the ineptitude of government, and you having the wherewithal to put all of your trust into people that probably don't really care about their jobs any more than you do is an asinine way to go about life. And it seems the people that are going to have a high quality of life in the future are going to be real simple. It's either going to be if you're connected and you go to a great school and you get a great job, or if you pull together with all your friends into, like we always say, these micro communities, and we can just start taking care of each other. The people that are awake, that don't want to play this game anymore, but we still are, logical enough to know that we can't beat, a sheriff department or a military, we'll go about buying enough land, getting enough stuff together so we can live comfortably away from basically all these other people that want to stay plugged in. It's their choice. Yeah, man, I can't do anything more than give the red pills out.
And so then you got these other people that are like, I'm gonna just go it myself, go it on my own, and just go the whole self-reliance route and live on my own with just me and my wife and my kids, and just go out into the woods and bug out type of thing. Now, I'm not gonna knock that or anything, but from the research that I've learned through all this social networking stuff, is that you got to pull together a collective, like a hive mind. Where basically you got to acknowledge that one person can't be the jack of all trades. I mean, one person can be well-rounded.
Right.
Okay? But let's face it, there's some people that are just really good at gardening. Just like, and this is a perfect example with me, because I have this aquaponics system at my house that I built at my mom's house for my mom. And I wanted to build it because it was a good idea, but I'm not a good gardener,
Right.
And I gave it to my brother like a few days ago, maybe a week ago, and my brother is an excellent gardener ever since he was a little baby, literally. And he made this thing like I went and looked at it today, and it was like 3 times better than when I gave it over to him, and it's only been like a week, and he already has the whole thing like growing like way faster than I did.
Well, you know what they say about what green thumbs may be? Their frequency may align with plants. Like literally, their aura may actually power up a plant. It's a weird thing. There's people that have shown that machinery with electricity running through it, some people can amp it up. They have the aura.
Yeah.
So a thing with a living being is going to have its own energy field. There's also people that have animal companionship with animals and are like super close to them like they shouldn't be. Like people that can dive with sharks and not get eaten. They may have some kind of that weird thing going on too.
Like that grizzly man, dude. He
ended up eating it from a grizzly though. But
the point I wanted to get to was that, we have to acknowledge that having a group of people where everyone's good at certain things, and then you can tie all that stuff together and make something really great. And that's kind of what corporations do now. Except the problem is that they do that and then they build a pyramid on top of that. You know what I'm saying? There's that group of people that do all the work in these corporations.
Yep.
And then on top of all the backs of those people, they build a pyramid scheme on top. And then you got these CEOs that sit at the top and, all this good stuff. Now, the new trend, the new economy, the new free market is moving away from that system. It's moving towards where you just pull together people in a cooperative, and then you find a bunch of people that have different skills, that can all put together to work this one idea.
Yep.
And that's what's coming about. That's what open source is. You know, that's what crowdfunding is all about. It's changing the whole game. The whole economy is going to change. Like, we talk a lot about the stock market thing and the banksters and all that. Honestly, when it comes down to it, at the very end, I'm not that worried about it because I think in the end, people are going to come through this thing because we always evolve. And under pressure, especially, we come out with all the best ideas. I mean, I think we're going to come out of this thing way better than we were before it.
Yes, because it's going to really force us to go to, you know, that Venus Project / resource-based economy. It's just going to have to happen because these giant corporations are strip mining the earth to meet this artificial demand by making crappy quality supply. It's a simple consumer-driven system that is going to implode. And it's going to destroy Fortune 500 companies. And there's going to be a regular organic monopoly busting going on soon. Whether or not they hold it together through war or imperialism does not matter. Because the earth has finite resources. And they're going to just get to the point where it's too expensive to have a company like Exxon go out and drill oil. It's just not worth it anymore. Simple economics will destroy this system and realign it. Now, the thing is that there's a lot of people that are completely dependent on it. They need all the assistance of the state. And these people are going to find it a very rude awakening, and they need to start pretty much networking, honestly. Try to find a way to make life livable for yourself if you don't get any assistance at all. And do it now, because the assistance will be cut.
Everyone's got to move to the point where they're off the bureaucracy. Slowly but surely, and then as we move that way, then the bureaucracy will become irrelevant, and then it'll lose funding, because then people will stop paying their taxes.
Yes.
Once we have this stuff in place, these ideas where we can take care of ourselves, where healthcare is taken care of at the community level, where schooling is taken care of at the community level, you know, all this, you know, all the grid and all that stuff, then the federal government just goes away at that point.
Yeah.
You know, they become irrelevant. People realize we don't need them. They stop paying them. Right now, people still pay their taxes religiously because they think that they still need it. And in the end, a lot of people do. Just like you were saying, a lot of people need it. But I guess some people maybe that are listening probably wonder like why we think that this stuff's going to collapse and why the fiat system isn't going to work. Well, I mean, it's simple. There's so many examples. It's history. Has there ever been a fiat currency that lasted? The average lifetime of a fiat currency is like 27 years. You know, they only last a little time. And our fiat established in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard officially. And we've already the dollar system has already outlived its lifespan.
Right.
And now you see this gigantic foreign policy, which is in essence to preserve the dollar system. So is it going to collapse? Yeah, because the people, the American people, for one, are going to get tired of paying for all this stuff because it's all being built on our backs. And then for the second thing is that there's an international backlash. I mean, we see it every single day. Terrorists this, terrorists that. Why are there terrorists? Because of our foreign policy that is, in essence, to preserve the dollar system. So yeah, it's going to collapse, whether it's through external pressure, because so many countries are just going to reject us because they're tired of us, or whether it's just internally, where the American people just say, you know what, we're done. We're not going to do it no more. We're gonna switch off this dollar system. Screw you guys. You guys can do your own thing. You already got most of the wealth anyway. Go do your thing. Go live on your island by yourself. Go have fun with those gold bars. Go cuddle with those. Go have conversation. Go have a conversation with your gold bars, brother.
Right.
You know, and then we're going to say, you know what, our new currency is going to be based on hemp, or it's going to be based on organic produce or farming or whatever. You know, and I think the thing is the closer we can get to where we want before the existing stuff comes down, just like the fall of the Roman Empire, just like the collapse of every currency that's ever been fiat, eventually it's going to happen. Whether it's going to be sometime soon, I don't know. It may be not for another 10 years. It may be not for another 50 years. It may be tomorrow. Who knows? But the more that the sooner we can realize that just these ideas are founded in flawed logic, and we start moving away and we start doing alternatives, you know, and like you were saying, Bitcoin has its downfalls and stuff, but what it is blowback. it's blowback from the monetary system, and people are trying to find alternatives to internet, food, water, electricity. It's coming. Once we get decentralized, it's they're through.
Thanks for listening, guys.
I'ma let 'em know, through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.